So it's hi to everybody out there in Zoom land. It's really nice to be able to gather the group together again. I see lots and lots of familiar names and faces over here, and it really is a privilege to be able to host this event. And this event, as most of you know, has been taking place predominantly firstly around COVID, and then as the Occupational Health and Safety Act amendment bill came up, we started running these events under the guise of the Coffee Club. And the Coffee Club now, I did a tally the other day, it's just under 690 people that have actually joined the Coffee Club in some or other way, manner or means. And the objective, of course, is to make this material available as widely as possible. We don't charge for the event. I do a little bit of advertising, which I'll do in a short while, but we don't charge for it so we can share as much information as possible with as many people as possible. And you can feel free to share the URL of the recording afterwards with your company, your colleagues, your clients, whoever you want to, because I believe it's that important that we get some of these messages out as widely as possible. So from Penny and myself, we're based in Mauritius, of all places. Right now it's quite warm. I can see blue skies outside there, and I know that a number of South Africans are sitting all bundled up and they've got heaters at their feet or pets on their lap to keep them warm. And I completely understand that. So yeah, we just want to say that it's really nice to have you with us. What I'm going to be doing in a couple of minutes' time is I'm going to do a quick upfront presentation, just a little bit of background as to who we are, specifically for those people that are new and we've not had the opportunity of speaking to you before. You may not know who we are and you don't know what we've been doing, but I'll get into that and do that in a couple of minutes. Just want to let the last couple of guests in, and then we're going to start rocking and rolling. Dr. Kriel, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. So if you don't mind, your microphone will be open, and I've pinned you so it's just the two of us that are visual at the moment. So let me get straight into the screen share, and I want to get up and running. There we go. Great. Okay, so it came as a result of me having a request from one of our affiliates, and he wanted some clarity on what he could do in terms of working at heights training. He's very keen, he's SETA accredited, but he doesn't at this stage have accreditation to do working at heights training. And he wanted to know what he must do. And the truth of the matter is, between Penny and myself, we don't actually know, because this is not our area of specialization. This is something that I'm curious about. And in particular, we do have training material that we've been developing for this industry or for this activity. However, due to our interaction with Dr. Kriel, both at the SIOSH or AOSH conference a year or two ago, together with the communication that we've had, we realized that the advice that we're giving our affiliates is not absolutely accurate. In fact, in some instances, it's erroneous. So I thought the best thing we could do, the very best thing we could do, is invite Dr. Kriel to come on and just talk to our guests and talk to them from a sort of a, should we say, a communication point of view rather than a legislation point of view. Now, I've asked Dr. Kriel to speak on the subject from her heart, and she's going to be doing that shortly. So that's what this is all about. And you'll see this is session 12 of the Coffee Club, and I want to just quickly tell you about what's happened and what's going to be happening. But just for communication's sake, those of you that would like further information about us and about the various products and processes that we have, together with contact names such as Dr. Kriel's and so forth, please just WhatsApp W@Heights, WAH, to my cell phone number, which is 082-920-8912. That's 082-920-8912. It'll come through to my phone. Thank you. I can see that it's Ansi. You've got it. And we then just have a group of people that we know that we can talk to about this specific subject. So that's a request to everybody who comes in. I'll ask that to ask people to do that again shortly. Then I must say, and it is a disclaimer, that I'm not a lawyer. I enjoy legislation. I happen to serve on the SIOSH committee at the moment. It's a technical committee discussing the proposed changes to the Occupational Health and Safety Act, but I'm not a lawyer. And I know that for a fact, if ever I'm in a sticky situation, I would phone one of my friends who's a lawyer who knows the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and or refer them to the SIOSH advocate, Advocate Reinhard Luch, who is available to SIOSH members for free to provide them with information. So that's the first thing. The second thing is now with POPIA or POPI Act, it is important to say that this is a public event and your name and contact details may possibly be on here. If you provide a name, that name is now public. So what you may want to do is you may want to switch off your camera, and you may want to change your name on the Zoom profile so that people don't know who you are. If you don't mind, that's great, but it will be there, and we are recording this event. So just a quick advert on my side while people are registering. Thank you. I can see the registration is streaming in over here. Bye, donkey. Martin, Eric, Rian, Deline, Taylor, William, Janet, Marius, and so forth. Ivan, Renette, welcome, guys. It's really nice to have you with us. Okay, so what we do is we have a basic business model to assist people get up and running as training providers with as many of the pertinent elements to assist them in this process, including training material and including our e-learning platform and accreditation. We assist people with accreditation with various SETAs, and obviously as a result of the topic today, working at heights, it might be an extension of scope. We assist people with that. We have a team of people, a team of professionals, got 9 people on the team that assist you with that, and they're standing by to assist. And then, of course, we're members of SIOSH, and ultimately we support all our affiliates, as we call them, and we believe that it's a pretty good business model for them and help them get as profitable as possible. Okay, now all of this came as a result, the Coffee Club came as a result of the publication of the fact that the bill was out for conversation, and we got involved. And what we did is we ran workshops, we made our e-learning program available on the Occupational Health and Safety Act and legal liability. We ran a number of programs and lots of information sessions. We also participated in SIOSH's conferences with the Department of Employment and Labor and the Chief Inspector, who you see over there, Tibozana, so that we could shed and spread this information as widely as possible. And the discussions have resulted in lots of very interesting insights into the legislation or the proposed legislation. So what has happened is, in fact, the Chief Inspector says that the comments must be in by the 31st of July, and there's his email address, tibor.zana@labor.gov.za. If you want to, just grab your phone and just take a photograph of that screen, and you'll be able to email him directly. Of course, there's also a postal address which you can send it to, but they're asking for emails. How they're going to manage all these comments, I'm not too sure, but you can also send the information to SIOSH. Now, I mentioned that I happen to serve just fortuitously on the committee. And SIOSH put a technical committee together of knowledgeable people who understand legislation from a prosecutorial perspective as well as an enforcement perspective. And then, of course, there are people from various other official bodies who are serving on this committee, and I happen to be involved. So, and this has become incredibly interesting, and I find it absolutely fascinating. And one of the things I discovered is I didn't know much about the legislation, or I knew the basics, but I didn't know what goes behind the legislation and how legislation is written. So we've seen lots of very interesting comments coming through, but they aren't and won't be founded in law. And as a result of that, one has to really take a look at the comments. Now, SIOSH has this platform. If you remember, go onto it, make your comments. And when you do make your comments, please make sure that the comment is referenced properly. And secondly, that you give a recommendation of what the law should say, together with a motivation of what the law should say. Now, those of you that were able to download the parallel copy of the Act and the amendment bill, please you can use that. It's a Word for Windows document, and you can type directly into it. If you need this document, it's a book, well, it's about 120 pages, just drop me a line, WhatsApp me and say, copy of bill, and I will then just WhatsApp to you. Not a problem at all. Okay. Then, of course, as a result of that, we created the Coffee Club, and we've been hosting it both on, obviously on Zoom, and as well as on YouTube. And we have a Facebook page. So you want to take a photograph of that. It's OHS Bill Coffee Club. And join us on that page, because there's lots of interesting copies. I see. Renette, yes. Okay. She said, send me a copy of the bill. Ek sal, Renette, beslis, geen probleem. But the Facebook page is a useful place to post things and ask questions and stuff like that. Then, of course, we have a YouTube channel, and all of the Coffee Club activities, plus more, is available specifically for health and safety trainers. There's business information. Penny's been running sessions on manage your money, because if you're in business, you better make a profit. Otherwise, you're going to be very hungry. And she's been doing that, and that's available on the website as well, at least on the YouTube channel. So take a look at it. That, I think you'll find that very useful. And we've also got one of our participants, Deline Sheesbury, and she's been creating videos that are very useful. Delene can maybe just mention at some stage what her channel is, and you can go and look at those videos and share those videos, share them with clients and colleagues and contacts and people like that. Okay, now that brings me to this stage over here. So it's an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to read Dr. Kriel's profile here, and it's truly very impressive, and bear with me because there's a lot to be said here. Dr. Alti Kriel is the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute for Working at Heights, IWH, which comprises a trade association and a professional body. She holds an undergraduate and a postgraduate degree in education and theology and a PhD from the University of Pretoria. Now, she has represented the TVET colleges on several committees for the Department of Higher Education and Training, DHET, and the South African Qualifications Authority, SAQA, in one of the national standards body under the SAQA Act. She served as Director of Adult Basic Education and Training at Abbott and VET Umaluzi, apologies for that, Council for Quality Assurance, in General and Further Education and Training, as well as a Quality Development Manager, Learnerships and Skills Programs at the Services Sector Education and Training Authority, and she and I were just talking about that very briefly before we started. And she said while at the SETA, she led a 27-school project across South Africa's 9 provinces to develop teachers to prepare 540 plus grade 10 learners over 3 years for the world of work. Now, she talks about the methodology they use there, but there's way too much to talk about at this stage. And she says, after a while, the Institute of Working at Heights Trade Association approached her to assist in establishing a professional body for registration with SAQA. She initially assisted only with the development of policies and procedures, but soon found herself at the heart of developments in this unique and little-known industry. She has since taken up a full range of duties at the Institute of Working at Heights. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker for today, would you please welcome Dr. Alti Kriel. And with that, I'm going to stop the share screen. I'm going to mute myself, and Alti, over to you.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. I hate listening to my background and the bios, but I also feel that I've walked the road. I've come right from preschool education to tertiary education to post-school to workplace learning. So yeah, I think I've walked a long road. I'm very close to my expiry date. Thank you very much for this opportunity to actually speak to you all. And I hope that I will be able to give you some better insight in what we are doing, what we are standing for, and what exactly we feel we have accomplished over the years. So when Ken approached me, I decided I'm not going to do a whole PowerPoint presentation. I think I'll much rather just do a very short video presentation. It's going to be quite short, just an introduction on the Institute for Work at Heights. And after that, I'm really going to talk openly about what we're doing. And I would really like this to be an interactive meeting anyway, because a lot of people, I need to know what the questions are so that I can answer it. So I'm just going to share this presentation for you. So just bear with me. We got it right earlier. So I just need to share screen again. Now, where is that button?
Not a problem at all. While you're setting that up there, this is for everybody out there. What I've tried to do in as many instances as I can when working on Zoom or on Teams is just to share some lessons with the participants. And there we go. I can see your share screen happening over there. And today, Alti has taught me something: how to get audio and video running together on a presentation. So back to you.
And now I can't find it. Can you believe it? I can't get my share screen. Where is it now?
Good question.
Okay.
In the meantime, those of you that have just joined us, great to have you with us. I'm just introducing or admitting a couple of other people, and we are up to 52 participants, which is really exciting. Okay, let's see. There we go.
Okay. Is it big enough?
The Institute for Work at Height Trade Association was formed in January 2009 as a merger of the Specialized Access Engineering Manufacturers Association.
Let me just find out, can you all hear it and see it?
Okay, Alti, I can hear it clearly, and I can see the video on the screen.
Yes, I can see clearly. Thank you.
Thank you.
SAIMA and the Rope Access and Fall Arrest Association, RAFA, desirous of creating safety awareness and in turn professionalism in the overall work at height industry. The main objective for which the Institute has been established is to promote communal and group interests of those companies or individuals engaged in the specialized access work at height industry, including any other associated operations or activities thereto. The IWH formed the professional body in November 2012. The professional body is registered by SAQA and consists of expert practitioners, including an occupational body, in order to provide guidelines and legislation in the work at height occupation field. Currently, the IWH represents 7 industry sectors or chambers, including rope access, fall arrest and fall prevention, scaffolding, suspended access equipment, towers and ladders or aluminium scaffolding, mobile elevating work platforms or MUPs, and false work. Work at height and the operation thereof is governed by Construction Regulations 2014, with the main aim to prevent death and injury caused by a fall from height regarding the responsibilities of employers and employees. These form the IWH's primary consideration in maintaining industry standards, and in doing so relates to the following legislation: Occupational Health and Safety Act, Mine Health and Safety Act, OHS Construction Regulations, Regulation 18 of the Driven Machinery Regulations, and OHS General Safety Regulations. The main service offering of the IWH is the registration of licensed practitioners and the issue of licenses and permits to operate, whereby employees and employers are safeguarded against legislative requirements. Designations quantified by SAQA as professional is deemed a license to operate, and other skilled individuals not designated receive a permit to operate. Professional designation means a title or status conferred by a professional body in recognition of a person's expertise and/or the right to practice in an occupational field. Registration against a designation is valid for a period of 3 years, after which the practitioner has to apply for re-registration. Skills have been divided into the following: registered designations, recognized skills program, and IWH-approved LNQ programs. Furthermore, the IWH recognizes the responsibility to standardize industry, legal and SANS requirements, and is currently compiling guidelines for work at height that is internationally recognized. Companies and individuals can expect its release in 2015. The role of the IWH and its guidance within the 7 industry sectors or chambers is vital to the standardization policy which the organization is governed by. Let's take a further in-depth look at the various sectors. False work. The IW.
I just want to stop it.
While you're getting it back on again, Alti, those of you that are watching, obviously that video is available on YouTube, on the IWH channel, together with a number of other videos. I think you have about 6 videos there, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, I was battling to stop it. That was the basic introduction of the IWH. And I didn't want to, because the rest of the videos are all available on our website. So basically what we've done is, if you go to our website, www.ifwh.co.za, and you go to, I think it's news and media, there is different videos for each and every chamber as well. So if you, for example, want to know more about scaffolding, you will find it there. If you want to know more about rope access, fall arrest, you will find it there. Now that as you could see, that video was done, I think, in 2014, and we were mentioning our guidelines for safe work at height in there that was going to be published in 2015. We have just finalized our second edition of the work at height guidelines, and it's really, the people just love it, especially occupational health and safety practitioners, as that really guides them on each and every aspect of working at height, each and every sector and industry. We really feel very proud of our work at height guidelines. And for any of you that would like to know, we also have the guidelines on our cell phones. So you can just download the app. If you are interested in me sharing the app with you, I think I'm going to put my cell phone number in here at the bottom.
Yes, please, if you wouldn't mind. And that was www.ifwh.coza.
That's it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So the guidelines, as I said, at this stage is really a fantastic tool for each and everybody in any sector, because if you go and look at the scope of working at height, it ranges from cleaning, maintenance, anything where a person gets onto a ladder, where he gets onto a rope, onto a scaffold. It is working at height. They don't even have a minimum. When do you call it working at height? There's no minimum above 1 meter or what. It's the moment you work in an elevated position, it's considered working at height. So the booklet is also for sale. The hard copy booklets are for sale at our offices, but you can also, I will put my email address in here, in the chat box.
Is the guidelines, are they, is it a PDF file?
No, the guidelines is a hard copy. It's only either a hard copy or it is an app on your phone. So you can decide how you want. What we've also done with the guidelines, I don't know how many of you are fall protection planners, but fall protection planners a lot of times don't know all the different sectors of working at height. They, for example, only know fall protection. They don't necessarily know what needs to happen in rope access or what needs to happen in scaffolding. So we always tell them that if you've got that guidelines document, it will help you tremendously to also know the other types of you know, the different industries. Now, we also have the Cpd program, which I'm thinking of registering with SIOSH for the safety officers, where we take you through the whole work at height guidelines, and especially safety officers, where we take them from sector to sector to explain to them the relevant legislation for that specific sector. So the work at height guidelines is really an excellent tool for everybody. Now, with regard to training, I think, you know, with my background coming from TVET colleges and from then later public training providers, occupational training providers, I realized the difficulty that our training providers are in with regard to assistance. In the past, there was a lot of academics that sat and that developed the qualifications for the industry, which was in effect ineffective, and it was definitely not what the industry wanted. So when we started the professional body, we put a hell of a lot of effort in making sure that if there's any new qualifications being developed, that it includes what the needs of the industry are. But the problem currently is because working at height is such, the people see it as a minor component. They do not realize that it actually can be covered within so many different occupations. It is electricians, it's builders, plumbers, cleaners, maintenance workers. There are so many people that needs working at height. And what happened in the past is that the SETA will accredit you for the full qualification, where working at height is part of, but your trainers are not necessarily competent in training that working at height component. So we as a professional body, one of the objectives and one of the criteria for a professional body is that we should not be exclusive. But we try very hard to get providers to understand when we say that come and join us, come become a registered IWH training provider. They don't necessarily understand when we are a bit harsher than the SETAs on the requirements for training working at height. It's all because when the SETAs did their accreditation, they focused on the full qualification. They don't necessarily focus on the working at height component. So basically what we do, and we currently have about 30 recognized training providers. Our first criteria for a recognized training provider is they must be accredited with a relevant SETA. Now we all know how hard it is to get accreditation with the SETAs, but I must say that lately that we've had very good responses from and working at height specifically. I'm not talking scaffolding, with the services SETA, where a lot of the fall protection and rope access unit standards are. And then also construction SETA, we've had hard times with them, but lately it's also going a lot better than what it was previously. So we practically will, if a provider comes to us and say, we would like to be accredited or registered, recognized with you as a professional body, we would first ask them, are you accredited with any of the relevant SETAs? That is our first, and because we want the people to work with the SETAs. Remember, and I think this is where our discussions will come in, that a professional body is not there to issue your qualification. The qualification is being issued by a SETA or by the QCTO. We as a professional body is actually, after that process, we will issue a license. The other issues that we've experienced is that a lot of providers will go and they will be accredited with a SETA, but they will never upload those results to the SETA. And that in itself is a huge issue, because if you have not submitted that person's results for his qualification, which is maybe a unit standard, to the SETA, it means that person will not be on SAQA's National Learner Record Database as a competent person. Now, what we as a professional body do is, we say there must be an underlying qualification before we can issue a license to operate. Now, the license to operate will also appear on SAQA's National Learner Database, because that is our designations that we've registered. So basically what we are saying, each and every person that have been trained should be, if they are registered with the IWH, they will be on the NRD twice. The one will be for a qualification, which will not have an expiry date on. Your degree, your matric certificate, your diploma do not have an expiry date. But the license to operate, which comes after the qualification, does have an expiry date. Remember, if you think about, and I know people say you can't compare us with doctors and lawyers and those things. I don't I don't see anybody as more professional as another person. Your qualification gives you your qualification. That's it. Does not give you your license to operate. You will also see with a doctor, he has to abide by certain rules to be registered with the Health Professions Council. They register on a yearly basis, where we register on a 3-year basis. Our re-registration criteria is different from them because we occupy a different sector than them. So all those things need to be taken into account. What other questions that we keep on getting from the people is, who decides on all these criteria, on the amount of time that they will register people, on the criteria for registering people, on the criteria for experience in the workplace? Everything we do as a professional body is being determined by our members. Just as SIOS does it, they also, you've got your members sitting around the table, they all represent their industry. We as the IWH also have our board members, which is currently representative of all 7 chambers. We've got each and every, the Fall Protection Chamber has a chair and a vice chair, the Rope Access has a chair and a vice chair, and they come directly from the industry, and they form our NEC. And everything we do is happening through them. They go out to their members and they will come back and say, this is not working, let's try this. And we try them and package it in such a way that it still aligns to SAQA's criteria for us to be registered as a professional body, but also looking at the NQF Act, looking at what the QCTO will demand or the SETA's demand from that training providers. So we basically try and make sure that we comply to all the necessary regulations. We also work very closely with the Department of Employment and Labour. And yeah, for the past 3-4 years, between ourselves, Department of Employment and Labour, we had several meetings with the QCTO to try and sort out what's going to start happening very soon when the historical qualifications expire. And all these regulated training, the unit standards, that's very heavily regulated by, for example, the construction regulations. What is going to happen to them when the qualifications expire? And that's it. So I think maybe we should open for questions.
Sure. Okay, so I'm sure that many people are sitting there just wondering, wow, where do we go from here? So if I may, can I start with the first question? So let's suppose, Alti, that a person wants to become a trainer in the arena of working at heights. What are the steps that they would take from scratch? They've been doing health and safety training, they've been consultants, they may be working on a construction site or something like that, but they now want to do the unit standards, and I think there are about 4 or 5 unit standards, is that right? And where do they go?
Remember, there's numerous unit standards, because just for fall protection, the 4 unit standards we've given you is just for a person to do basic work at height and rescues at height. But as I said, we also have rope access, we also have scaffolding, and they all have their own individual unit standards. But if you want to say, for example, just do the basic fall arrest training, which we call working at height, they need to, the trainer themselves need to have the 4 22998, which we call basic fall arrest. 22995, which is fall arrest rescue. So it's a little bit more advanced than the 22998. This guy can, for example, also do a basic fall arrest rescue. Then we've got 22994, which is your fall protection planner unit standard. I think that is something that I can really advise all occupational health and safety practitioners to be involved in, because fall protection planning is one of our designations that is really picking up tremendously. A lot of people that you especially the safety officers, I think, is in the ideal position to draw up fall protection plans. And then you get the last one, it's 22999, which is more advanced for the rescue. The reason why we want our trainers at least to have all 4 those unit standards is if you train a person, you need to know, what am I going to do if there is a fall risk, if there is a incident? You will have to be able to rescue that person, the learner. The fall protection plan, I also feel that that gives you the background of what your own situation should look like in developing that fall protection plan, because how do you tell a person that you are training what he needs to look out for if you yourself don't know? And then, yeah, the 22998 and 22995 is the 2 unit standard that most people, and I can tell you there are thousands of people that are trained, that currently trained on 22998 specifically. I feel 22995 is also very, very important to have.
Fantastic. So the person would then acquire those 4 competencies. They would attend the courses themselves, finish the courses, get their certificate of competency and so forth. Then they would go to maybe the services SETA, as you suggested, and they would register either as an extension of scope or get accreditation with that SETA. Then they come back to you, am I right? And they register as a licensed training provider with the institute. And at that stage, I'm assuming that they can start training.
Yes, we do an additional audit because, like I said, the SETAs don't look at the equipment. And with working at height training, you've got a different animal. You've got, you know, all these scaffolding structures that you have to set up to do the training. If you train, especially with fall areas, then you've got to have specific structures in place. Now, we assist our providers with that. We give them all the SANS codes that they have to comply with and everything that they need to have in place for that. So our audit is an additional audit, but like I said, we will not go and now also again look at your policies and procedures, because that has been done by the SETAs. From our side, most important points that we look at is, are you accredited? Do you have your competent assessors? But you won't be accredited if you don't have an assessor and a moderator. And then, is your equipment in place? And do you actively upload your learners to that SETA? That is a huge point, because a lot of providers out there say they're accredited, but they do not upload their learners.
Fantastic. Alti, I'm going to just say at this stage, this seems to be an enormous amount of information that we need to process, and thank you for that. So what I'd like to do, given the time it's already 1:45 or almost 2:45, I'm going to open the microphones and just open it to anybody that would like to ask questions. Now, I just want to mention to you, those of you that are in the session, when we get to the end of the hour, we're going to stop the recording as we normally do, but don't go away. Don't go away. You can grab a cup of coffee and you can come back and ask more questions. So don't think that this is the end of the session. It will be the end of the recording on the hour or thereabouts. So let's go straight to everybody and just say unmute. Let's get everybody to unmute themselves. And we can start with questions. Janet, I saw your question over here. You were talking about the qualifications and the legacy things that are going to expire, legacy things. Stephanie's going to be speaking about that at our affiliate conference. Very specifically, because this whole QCTO thing and the change from the unit standards and skills programs and QCTO, Stephanie's going to address that at our conference on the 14th of August. And for those of you that are affiliates, the conference of the 14th of August is filling up nicely. And certainly we've got some really interesting speakers that are going to be speaking on the subjects that are close to our hearts and relevant. Okay, so there we go. Richard Whittaker's got his hand up. Richard, go right ahead.
Hi, Ken. Good morning, Alti. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Richard.
As a construction health and safety manager, registered with SACP CMP, I will be doing inspections on site to make sure that everything is in place, obviously. What qualification would you expect a person to have who's going to inspect scaffolding, not to use it, but merely to make sure it complies with all the necessary requirements?
With scaffolding, you must be registered as a scaffold inspector. Unfortunately, we do have, and we've registered skills programs with a QCTO, where there is a basic scaffold inspector, which will be able to inspect scaffolding up to a certain, I think it's 6 meters, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, there's no quick way, and a lot of people, and we've heard that there's training providers that train inspection of scaffolders for 2 days, and they a qualified scaffolder. Now, I've spoken to the scaffolding chamber about that. We've spoken to the people internationally, the UK, and you have to be a competent scaffolder inspector, and to be a competent scaffold inspector, you also have to be a competent scaffold erector. It's no quick way, there's no quick fix. We've developed a new qualification for scaffolders. There was no qualification in South Africa. There was a few unit standards, which was abused. The scaffolder qualification is like a trade. It's going to be trained over a period of 3 years. And unfortunately, for a person to be a scaffold inspector, they will unfortunately have to go the full way. For a person from outside, like the inspectors of the Department of Labour, to inspect scaffolding, I would suggest they get a competent person in with them, to go with them, to show them what to look out for. But I would not put my hand on paper and inspect the scaffold and sign off on it if I'm not fully competent to do that.
Richard, does that answer your question? I've got 5 people wanting to ask more questions, but back to Richard.
Sorry, just, yeah, I'm not inspecting it on the basis of it's safe to use. I suppose I am, but I'm inspecting it to make sure that everything has been complied with, to make sure the scaffold is safe. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, you can go look at remember there's the SAN standard, which the manufacturing of scaffold has to comply with. That is a different aspect. But the moment you erect the scaffold, you know, you're putting a lot of people's lives at stake there. I would say that maybe we could go and look at a skills program, develop a skills program, but basically for a person just to check. But what do you check it for? So I think, you know, this is maybe, Richard, I think it would be a worthwhile question that we could ask at our upcoming scaffolding chamber meeting, where we could perhaps ask, listen, this is not for sign off. This is merely for us to check whether, as an auditor or as an inspector from the Department of Labour, whether there's something dodgy going on there. And from there, you could perhaps get a qualified scaffold inspector in to come and check whether it's safe or not.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Alti, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next person over here. Nikki Grobler, would you like to ask the next question? And that's going to be followed by Ferdi Hartzenberg. Nikki, go right ahead.
Thank you, Ken, and good afternoon to Alti. I've got 2 questions that I want to ask and that is regarding the accreditation. Do you need to be a member of the IWH for accreditation there and get your all your certificates and everything from them to do your inspections? And then my next question is, if you are a member of the IWH, from my point of view, if you're a member of SIOS, IWH, SACP, CMP, HPCSA, even the Institute for Waste Management. If you count all that cost together to be a member of each and every institution, that is a tremendous cost. And especially during this times now where trainers is very quiet in our industry. So that is my questions. And the last thing is the Support Qualifications. Sometimes you get the fly-by-nights that because the Support Qualifications is available, you can just go and search it on Google, and most of the people just get hold of that, although someone else wrote it, and implement that to get their Support Qualifications, but anyone can use it. So how are we going to look at this so that the fly-by-nights can't just use the qualifications that is available?
There's many questions in that one, Nikki. And I've known Nikki, and we've been working together, for a good couple of years. Nikki used to be at the University of the Western Cape when I first got to know her. Alti, do you have a response for Nikki? Okay, I think Alti has frozen, or there she was. Let's see. Not exactly sure what happened there. I saw her face was frozen. In any case, it's now 10:02. So, Nikki, thank you so much for the question. Those of you that are with us at the moment, we've still got 55 people there, and we'll just wait for Alti to come back online. You just, I came to realize some time ago that Alti is very approachable. And I've spoken with her on the phone. I've actually participated in one or two of the conferences, the Zoom conferences that they host, so I can get my head around it. So please don't hesitate to actually give her a call. Got her details over there. If you would like, her email address, once again, is in the right-hand side column, ceo@ifwh.coza, and her cell phone number is 082 82 77919. I'll read that again, 082 82 77919, and it's Dr. Alti Kriel, and you can contact her at the IWH. I do know that they're working from home for obvious reasons, and please feel free to just give her a call as well. She mentioned that there were 4 unit standards. We've got 2 already, and we'll develop or purchase or acquire the other 2 unit standards. So, Nikki, your question about fly-by-nights, heavens, that's a problem that we've all got, and we're trying to address that in terms of quality material. So, Nikki, if you're still there, I apologize for the fact that we lost Dr. Alti Kriel. Let's just see. We haven't lost her permanently. There's Nikki. I can see Nikki. Ferdi, would you like to ask your question and just see? We'll be recording it, and then she can hear the question in the recording.
Yes, Ken. Yeah, my question.
Oh, hang on. Yes, Alti, she's back. Great. Let's just quickly find where she's at. And as she's coming on, what I'm going to ask you to do is let's find where she's at. Farid, you can get ready for your question. I just want to make her a co-host. There we go. Right.
There's something that went wrong here, and I don't know what it is, but I'm fortunate I've got my phone as well, so I just had to go back. I think our internet went off or something.
Okay, no problem, but you're back. That's the main thing. So we have a question from Ferdi. He wanted to ask a question, and he's been waiting for you to come back online. So, Ferdi, ga maar voort.
Thank you very much, Ken. Yes, I just want to ask a question. As a training provider, one of my unit standards is the 22998 and the 22995. You're working at heights and you fall the rest. Now, I am busy with my accreditation with Stephanie Nelson. Okay, I've got a confirmation letter to say everything's in the process with a construction SETA. Am I still allowed as a skills training provider to give that, to give this working at height courses? Is there any changes in that, or do I have to wait for my accreditation?
You see, the problem is, I'm sorry about that. I just want to tell Nikki. Nikki, I'll answer your questions just now. Patty, the short and sweet is, if you want to train basic fall arrest, if something happens at the training institution, and I think in one of the unit standards, I think it's 22998, it actually states that the assessor must also, the trainer must also have 22999. And it's because of the rescue component, because you as a trainer, you're not going to train somebody while he's standing there in front of you. He's going to climb. And what happens if the learner is there up in the air and you do not know how to rescue him? So that is why I think that is a unit standard that you must have. I know there are people currently training without accreditation. And I mean, if you've done it yesterday and you do it today, we haven't approved it, but we are not the law. You know what you're doing is risky, so it could be a problem, but it is really very important to rather get your accreditation going as quickly as you can. What you could also do is go and link with an already currently registered training provider and say, while I'm busy waiting for my accreditation, can I not link with you? We've got a couple of our providers that's prepared to do it with other providers, and they basically mentor the provider to get to a point where they can then continue on their own.
Okay.
Rian from Group 83 is online currently. He's one of our training providers that assists people. Rian, I see comment there.
Rian de Villiers has got his hand up. Is that the Rian you're referring to, Alti?
No, Rian from Group 583, he says assessors will need to be assessed as competent against the unit standards 22999 and 22994. So if that is in the unit standards itself, it's specified. So I don't know how SETAs could accredit providers without their assessors having those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And certainly it's a matter of unpacking all of this. Rian, we'll come to you in a moment. Nikki, let's just quickly go back to Nikki. The time is 3 minutes to, so quick question, then I'll take 1 or 2 more questions and then we can start the wrap up. But remember what I said, we're going to stop the recording, but then we'll just open up for questions and anybody can ask questions. And great, there we go, Nikki.
And Nikki was asking about the amount of bodies that they have to belong to. I know, Nikki, and I agree, it is. I feel sorry for the people that work over a range of industries with different bodies that they have to adhere to. We do have currently have specials for independent consultants, which pay a lot lower price. With us, our training providers automatically also become a member company of the IWH. Because we saw in the past, you can't just have the tail, or you can't just have the horse. You've got to have the whole thing. So all our providers are also members of the IWH. They all pay one price, and it includes being a member as well as a training provider.
Thank you very much.
Beantwoord dit jou vraag?
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. We're going to go to Rian de Villiers and we'll be followed by Mike Erasmus. So Rian, go right ahead.
Hi, Alti.
Hi,
Rian. So good to see you and hear from you again. It's been a long time we've met and we've talked to each other. My question will be the following. I'm just going to deal with it out of the perspective of the industry and out of the perspective of the Construction Regulations 2014. Specifically then for the work at heights, because if you have to have a qualification unit standard, then the word competent needs to be written into the construction regulation with regards to people working at heights, which they are not. There's not one sentence in the whole Occupational Health and Safety or even in the Occupation Act, the construction regulation or the act itself that will say that people that are working on any elevated position or on working at heights must be competent, which means then must have a qualification. And that brings a big problem to us as trainers, because people don't need to have a qualification for work at heights. They don't need to have a unit standard training for work at heights. So my question to you then is, Because the last time that we spoke quite a while ago, the biggest problem that we are having is the fact that we don't have yet something that is really enforceable from your side, statutory wise. So how enforceable is it that people must be registered with Institute to Work at Heights, or must have that qualification, or must have a license, as it's not written in the law? The only place where it's written that they must have a license is for the rope access. So even for the fall protection plan developers, there's nothing in the law that says they must be registered. So how can we deem people then not yet competent if they do not have a registration with Institute to Work at Heights? And that's probably my question to you.
Okay. I don't know how you read the Act, but the regulation specifically says that a competent person is a person that have the skills, knowledge, and experience, and where there is a qualification, an NQF qualification, that should be the qualification the person has to have. Now, the unit standard 22998 is an NQF qualification. So that makes it mandatory for you have to have that qualification. So the people can't walk away from that. You
so
have
to interrupt you, my problem, Alti, is the fact that the word competent is not written, it's not said when it comes to people that work at Heights. So when you look
the work at Heights, and I can give you a letter from that was written by Tibor Zana, where he stated we had the same question because people were coming up with these things. And he again stated, if once they talked about people, all people working in an elevated position needs to be competent. The moment you step up from the floor, our biggest fatalities, incidents, accidents is the second biggest that FEM gave stats on, is working at heights. And that is why in no way will any authority allow a person to go and work and he's not properly trained. So that one can show you letters that we've got from the Department of Labor. The other side of your question with regard to the IWH, we are not statutory. And we've said it to people before, nobody is forced to belong to the IWH. Nobody is forced to get a license. But a provider is not allowed to issue a statement of results with an expiry date on it, because the provider issued competency against the unit standard. Competency against the unit standard is your qualification. Meaning, if the moment you've trained that guy, he can in effect go and work permanently. He doesn't have to go back to the training provider. The license to operate, as I mentioned before, and we are busy in discussions with the Department of Labor, and we've looked at several countries where they specifically talk about high-risk skills. If you look at working at height, and every employer is responsible for their own employees. Now, as I said, we are there for the employers, and the employers insist on this license. Now, if the person is getting a qualification which has no expiry date from the SETAs, that's fine. But the employers like Medupi, Kusile, even City of Cape Town, we've got large companies currently that says, I'm not going to allow my person to go onto a site if he's not regularly checked. And that is the role of a professional body. Only a professional body, and if you go and look at the definition, what is a professional body? They issue the person its license to practice. So you can't go and say a training provider can do that, because you cannot be the player and the referee. If you look at licensing bodies in South Africa, which other body, you will not see us mentioned in the construction regulation, but which other body will you want to do it? we are independent, we are registered with SAQA, so who else will do it than us? Now that you can go and try and register another body, but SAQA said they will not do proliferation of bodies. They will only allow one body to be registered for a specific industry.
Yeah.
So,
Alti, if you don't mind, we've got Mike Erasmus here, and Mike, we're going to have you as our last contributor, if you don't mind. Mike was a Department of Employment and Labour inspector, so he might be able to answer Rion's question as well. And while that's happening, I want to chase my cats out. They're making a hell of a noise here in a cardboard box. So excuse me while I switch off my microphone.
Okay, thanks, Alti, and thanks, Rian. Yeah, very good question. Yeah, as Ken said, Department of Ex-Labor Inspector almost 20 years ago, I left Department of Labor. Alti is 100% correct in terms of the definition of competent person, in terms of the 4 criteria: knowledge, experience, qualification, and then training that is SAQA accredited. Fall protection regulation in the construction regulation 2014 under the regulation 10 clearly defines that when you draw up a fall protection plan, it must be designated, meaning appointed by a competent person. And 100% correct there. And that competent person must be competent in terms of the definition of competence. And if there's a SAQA unit standard for that, it must be in line with that. So 100% correct there. Thank you for that. I like Richard's question about inspecting scaffold. As ex-Department of Labor inspectors doing many scaffold inspections and construction site inspections, we had to be accredited as a scaffold inspector. I had to do the course. I had to be signed off as a competent person to inspect scaffolds. So it is very dangerous inspecting scaffolds if you do not know what a toe board or kick plate is, and that it has to be 150 millimeters, or you don't know anything about a transom or your ledges or your stays or your uprights or your base jacks. It does become dangerous when you inspect those things. But we as labor inspectors all had to go for scaffold inspectors courses ourselves and be accredited. Coming to my question, thank you very much for this valuable platform, Ken, and Dr. Alti, thank you very much. Currently, I'm an assessor moderator for 22994, 22995, 22996, 22997, 22998, 22999 with the service SETA. But my question is, how do I get registered with the Institute of Working Height as a training provider? So my personal capacity, I'm an assessor and moderator for all of those unit standards. How do I get registered with the Institute of Working Heights? Maybe I can contact you later and we can take the discussion further.
I would really like you to contact us because I would like to help you. We especially like the guys that comes from inspection and BL background, so that they can also come and join our NEC to guide the industry further. So Mike, just contact me, I'll help you.
Excellent, thank you for that, and thank you very much for all everybody contributing. Thank you, Ken. Thanks, Doctor.
Well, I must say thank you to all of you that are participating. We've still got 46 people on and our hour is up. But in particular, I want to say to Alti, baie dankie. Ons waardeer dit geweldig. You know that information, they say knowledge is power, and it's so important that we get the accurate information, and we also play to a higher standard. I feel very, very strongly that we need to push the standards. I don't care what's happening around the country in terms of other activities and things of that nature. We in the health and safety game need to be pushing those standards, pushing them, making sure that we are offering our clients the very best deal we can. And one of the roles that we have, of course, is to inform and provide education and opportunities like this. So Alti, I'd like to say thank you so much. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly go back to our share screen and I'm going to wrap up on our side. So van ons kant af is dit letterlik 'n kwessie van baie dankie. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Those of you that are still out there, I'd like you to, if you have any comments and messages for Dr. Alti Kriel, you can send them to my phone, and then what I'll do is I'll just pass them on to her, and obviously we can communicate that way. Those of you that have joined late and would like some of the information and things like that, I'm going to send out the 4 unit standards that we've been talking about initially, and obviously the Institute's contact details and Dr. Kriel's email address. Just WhatsApp me at W@H Work at Heights. Send it to my number 082-920-8912. That's 082-920 8912. There we go. And then just by way of what's coming up, we've got a couple of other activities. We all started off with this coffee club around the Occupational Health and Safety Act Amendment Bill 2020. Now, the deadline discussion that we're going to have with the coffee club around it is next week on Wednesday, the 28th. So please join us on the 28th. It's going to be a summary, a wrap-up, any other additional information that we can send off to the Chief Inspector or to SIOSH. It's completely free. Once again, come along and join us. And it's going to be an open house, and we'll be discussing as much as possible. And then, of course, in August, we're going to move it, instead of every single week, which has been very, very quite intense putting these things together, which I've loved. We're going to go bi-monthly. We'll do it bi-monthly, and then we'll start doing one in the afternoon, one in the evening, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, and so forth. And we've got a host of topics that we want to just address and talk about. And I've got some speakers that are standing by to assist us, occupational hygienists, occupational medicine practitioners, so we can focus around those issues. We had Dale Kennedy previously on a previous occasion speaking about the ergonomics regulation. We have a speaker that's coming on. She's just written a program for us on environmental awareness, and Diane's going to come along and she's going to launch the training material. She's been in that field for over 20 years and has worked extensively around the world. I think she said 26 countries that she's been advising governments at the level of environmental awareness. And what she's done is she's developed a training program for employers and employees. So she's going to be talking, and then we've got a host of other people. My daughter Natalie's going to be speaking about the whole marketing side. Once again, those of you that are in the training business and you need to get your name and your profile out there, Natalie will be able to assist you with that, and so forth. But enough of that. That's a little bit of what's coming up. And then certainly from Penny and my side, we just want to say thank you so much to everybody that has supported us here. It's really, really been good. Now it's over to you. So it's each one teach one. It's that principle of we tell you, we show you, we help you, we guide you. You set your standards and you go out there and you take this message out and you talk to people. And you can use it whether if you're an in-house trainer within a corporation or a governmental department, you can use it just as a publicity activity or an awareness, or if you're a commercial trainer, you can go out there running your training company and you can do this for profit, and completely up to you. That's your story. We suggest that those of you that have been involved with the Coffee Club and the discussions around the Occupational Health and Safety Act, that we've essentially got 10 days now, just 10 days before the commentary must be in, and it's not too late to participate in the process, getting commentary from your own company and so forth. And I know there was a big discussion now about the definition. Rian, you were talking about the definition of competency, and you're 100% correct. The term competency is not defined in the Act, whereas it is in some of the regulations, but we are endeavoring through the SIOSH Technical Committee on the proposed amendments to introduce the definition of competency into the Act as well. So that will partially address these issues. We don't know when we'll see the actual implementation or promulgation of that Act, but if we don't do it now, if we don't have this commentary going, if we don't push back, and I'm sure some of you have been looking at the regulation, not the regulations, the sections of the Act that they're proposing to change. There are some very, very alarming issues over there. Some of those issues are seriously concerning for employers and certainly for employees as well. And there's promised legislation that's not even been proposed or written into this bill. So there's a whole issue around it. And join us next week as we wrap up on that. And then, of course, make sure that you're talking to the right people within your organization as such. And then lastly, those of you that like to comment on today's event, was it worthwhile? Did you get your value for money? Well, it wasn't money, it was coffee. I'm sure you had a couple of cups of coffee. And was it useful just making contact with the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Working at Heights? Have you found this illuminating and interesting and so forth? So just quickly send me a little bit of information. I can pass it on to Alti again. And I want to say once again, Dr. Kriel, baie dankie. Ons waardeer dit geweldig. It's just been an absolute pleasure having you on. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So from Ken and Penny out all the way in Mauritius, where it is now all of a sudden gone from sunny skies to rain. That's Mauritius. And in about half an hour, it'll be summer again. So we just want to say thank you so much to everybody. Stay warm, stay safe. All the best. Till next time. Bye for now.